If you are interested in dialing in the processes and procedures in your shop, then today's episode of Body Banging you will not want to miss. Our guest today worked for Caliber Collision and helped them with their processes and procedures, then went and worked with Fix Auto and Eric and Shelley Bickett to help grow the Fix Auto group and dial things in over there. He is now independent and ready to share the wealth with all of us. So on today's episode of Body Banging, he's giving us some of his own personal tips and tricks. Stay tuned for more.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the Body Bangin' podcast. This is Mickey Woods, your host, and today I'm super excited to bring you James Huard with Painters Collision Center. And James, I'm going to have you kind of start us out and just give us a little bit of background on yourself, because I know you're a body shop owner, an independent shop owner now, but you have a vast array of experience. So let's just give the listeners a little taste, because they probably know you indirectly and don't even realize it.
Okay, I'll do the best I can. I'll kind of keep it high level. There's a lot there. I grew up in the industry. I'm 39 years in it at this point. I started sweeping floors in my dad's body shop in Whittier, California when I was 15. My dad was a partner in Board Ford in Whittier, California, right on the main strip. So it was one of the largest Ford dealers in the state at the time. And my grandfather was an innovator. So my grandfather was the first all-state DRP in the state. He was the beta, right?
Wow.
So that's when it was still pro, right? So that's how we kind of got launched. My dad was a body man until he was 40. So I came into when I was 15, like I said, and I started out sweeping floors, cleaning cars, painting, prepping. I was a body man apprentice for a couple of years. And when I was on the production floor as a body man, I was watching everything and I'd be like, this is ridiculous. These guys are never going to get sales. They're never going to get cars out. It was interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
My dad was pretty sarcastic, those old body shop operators were. So he retired his body man position at 40, took over the family business at 40, and he was different, right? So it's just interesting watching him. So on the production floor is when I came up with my process. I was very young at the time. We invented, tagging the windshield, mapping the car. We called it a value map, right? DuPont came in, kind of adapted that. It was pretty interesting. I don't know if we were the first ones to do it, but we sure felt like we were.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So we were doing a lot of volume with Allstate. And then my father took on several other DRPs, I think AAA, 20th Century, and several others. And still struggling on the throughput piece. So he finally asked me if I'd do it. And I said, sure, I will. So I implemented my process. So that's what got me started in the industry. And then I left him, of course, at a young age. I started running my first shop all by myself at the age of 24. Then I moved up to Portland, Oregon. Went to work for a small dealer. Didn't like the dealer environment. Then I went to work for a gentleman by the name of Terry Mostel that owns Artistic Auto Body up in Tigard, Oregon. Had a great experience with Terry. Terry's super smart, taught me a ton. He also had a production manager by the name of Don Cooper that was phenomenal. That's where I really got my first mentorship in this industry. Well, my dad was really good. He wasn't like a Don. Don was a step-by-step kind of guy, and he really taught me. So my process integrated with that, just started to get better. Terry started to grow. Terry made me his sales manager. I had never been titled a sales manager, but I could capture work, write good estimates, things like that. So I stayed with Terry for quite some time. Really liked Terry. He's a good man. I left him in early 96, I think, and I joined Norman Perrysville Hammer. They needed a partner. So I partnered with them, 20% owner of that. We grew from about 300,000 to 850,000 revenue in a very short period of time. We built a new paint shop. We did all kinds of cool stuff. I had fun with that. But the process, again, was key for us. That process that we had invented back in the late 80s and 90s just kept, evolving and getting stronger. So it's a category of repair process. And we'll talk more, of course, as we get into this. But I did that there at the Velvet Hammer for some time. And then we sold it in 98 to a gentleman by the name of Toby Wiltsey. And Toby owned, at that time, I think 9 or 10 body shops. Smart man. I love Toby Wiltsey. Wow. I wish I could talk to him today, but he retired and kind of disappeared into the sunset.
Well, can I just say that the name Velvet Hammer is
Yeah.
so cool?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that's so cool.
Norman Perry are great men. I love them still to this day. You know, we lost touch over the years, but great guys.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I joined Toby, of course. And there was a gentleman out there by the name of Clyde Lowry. He was our computer guy, our IT guy at Velvet Hammer. He left that state, joined M2, became friends with a gentleman by the name of Bill Rice. They recruited me on as a regional manager. I went to go work with them in the Bay Area. I got to work with some very, very strong operators. I got to work with Greg Hepler. Greg Hepler is by far my largest mentor, teacher. He taught me the financial aspect of this industry better than anybody. He's phenomenal. I stayed with them until they went out of business. You know, I was that guy that just stayed. I didn't want to go because I wanted to help everybody, so I did. Got through that. And then I joined Hendrick Motorsports. I went to work for Rick Hendrick and Larry LeHue. Larry LeHue oversaw all of Rick's body shops. What a great guy. Greg Hepler actually connected me with Kurt Hepler, which worked directly for Rick Hendrick, got me in. So that was so fun. I got to build a body shop in San Diego for them. That was great. I loved it. I had a 6-month agreement with them, so I only stayed for 6 months and went on to do my thing because I like independent. Went to work in a small body shop, helped a guy by the name of Jimmy grow his store. And then I partnered up with a couple other guys in a shop called Auto Recon. We had a weird thing go on there. So I ended up leaving, but it ended up going to Caliber, and I joined Caliber at the same time. So I got to work with that phenomenal company. And I will say Caliber is phenomenal. When I joined them, they were small, 75 stores. I had a troubled region in San Diego. So I went to San Diego and helped them grow it. They did a great job. Had gold, platinum facilities. They liked what I was doing. They promoted me to a regional manager. I ran a few stores for a while, but they found my gifts were turning stores around, going into the underperformers, restaffing, putting my process in place and getting it to go this way. So that's what they had me doing for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, the last big project I did for David Goldstein was Caliber Santa Monica, when they still had that thing. And I was one of the only guys, and I'm not bragging because I had a team. A team was there. You can't do anything without a great set of people with good minds.
100%.
100, yeah, right. So we had to do some staff changes, a couple, but not many. Everybody there was phenomenal. We turned that store around. We grew that thing up from about 700 grand to $1 million plus. Really killed it. I stayed doing that for about 18 months, but it just wore me out. That thing was a beast. You know, and I had been friends with Eric Bickett since about 2008. Eric and I had been having phone calls, things like that. And he had been reaching out, wanted me to join him. So I joined Eric in 2013, late 2012, really. When I joined Eric, they had just, you know, had been battling the recession. It was pretty bad in 2008. We all remember that.
Yeah.
So Eric and Shelley were graceful. They brought me in and just gave me the world. They really did. They said, Jim, go do your thing. They just left me alone. Go run it. So I did. You know, I hired a great operations manager. Her name is Amanda Fazio. She's still there today. Eric and Shelley supported everything we did. We built technology. We built a dashboard. We had all these great tools. We grew it to 10 stores. We grew it to over $30 million in revenue. We had a great time. It was a great 9 years of my life. Eric and Shelley decided it's time. You know, they were in their mid to 60s, good friends of mine still to this day, and they wanted to sell.
Yeah.
We went out. And I was like, I don't. But they did, right? So, you know, we sold it out last year. I stayed through till November of 2020, and, you know, I was done. It's time to be 100% owner. I got married last year in October, and my wife.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Her name Kelly Huard now. Kelly Vega was her old name. Kelly was dynamic, super smart gal. I got her into the industry. She started doing accounting and all kinds of stuff for independent owners. Worked out well. So you know what? We thought, well, she comes from a really good background too. She's a CFO, controller, all of that. You know, so my operations knowledge and her accounting knowledge combined was just, wow, here we go, right?
Yeah.
So Kelly was really instrumental in making these decisions. I thought, you know, I got a really good network of people in the Arizona market. I'm going to move to Arizona. So we found a really good owner. His name is Bruce Painter, his wife, Janet Painter. They built this thing from the ground up. Well, we bought it. we started Jan 1, ground zero, not one car in the building.
Wow. Well, now, did they have vehicles coming into the shop at that time?
No, they stopped. They cut it all off. They canceled. I had no idea this was going on. In October, they deactivated every DRP they had. They cut off. They were going to shut this down and just lease the building. They had been approached by, the King. They had been approached by several other consolidators. But Bruce is, well, like myself or some of us old school independent guys, he just went and sell to a consolidator. He goes, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'll put it down before I do that. So a very awesome guy, a good friend by the name of Dennis Keneally out there, works for Exalta, connected me with Bruce. And we just hit it off. We just did. Both of us have the same background, both ex-body man, our whole family. So it just worked out great, So, the background, that's that. The coming in here, it's just been a dream come true, really. It really has. We've gone from ground zero. We've done in Q1, we did 537,000 revenue.
Wow.
Great KPIs. Yeah, our CSI to 98%. Our NPS, Net Promoter Score, is right at 97. Hours per day, right around 6.5. Key to key cycle days, 5.5. Just really doing a good job. Gross profits in between 48, 49. Actually, Q1 all in was 49. We work with a lot of great tools, a lot of great people out there. They're the ones that encouraged me. They said, do it. What are you waiting for? You've been a partner. You've been this, you've been that. Do your thing.
Yeah.
So
when sorry to cut you off, but when you first started, so you had basically nothing. You bought a shop with zip doodly dee. And so when you kind of turned the faucet on and you launched, basically, how did you even let people know that you were open to start getting vehicles in?
I had a secret. We retained the entire team. We didn't let one person go. We kept them all. Right. So that said, Natalie, painter, well, not painter anymore. Natalie is Bruce's sister. Natalie is the face of this community. She had been here for the full 17-year duration. She knows everybody in town. So what she did, as soon as we got here, fired it all back up, she just made a few phone calls. And all of a sudden, that door just started turning.
Wow. Yeah.
Month one, we did $150,000 in revenue of off the street work, not one DRP, nothing.
Wow. That's awesome.
Amazing. We're blessed. There's just no question that this was meant to be, right? Certain things are meant to be. So this one was. Then I have a pretty good network of friends. One of the things I can encourage any independent owner, anybody that's currently an operator that wants to be very high profile in this industry, is your network.
Mm-hmm.
Eric taught me something a long time ago. I'll never forget this when Eric said this to me. He goes, Jim, you want to master your business, you need to master people. He goes, learn the people and build your network, man. He goes, that's everything. He goes, I'm a smart guy. He goes, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm a smart guy, but not the smartest guy. I learned all this from the people.
Yeah.
Jim. So wow, right? So all the people that I met throughout the years, I just started picking up the phone. It's calling, not afraid to do it. Next thing you know, DRPs are coming. Hartford, American Family. I got Pinal County. I got some big ones. I got American Family is huge in this market. I got another big one. I don't want to talk about that yet. Maybe in our next one, once we go live with them.
Yes.
Then I'll start to talk about it.
There you go.
But that's happening as well. So, it's just really well. Then marketing. You have been helpful for me. You don't know that yet. Indirectly, you have. I read
awesome.
I like how smart you are. And I've read everything about marketing and how to get my social media, my website clean. That's why I reached out to you via that email, because as soon as it's done here in the next week or so, I really want to hire you to do that. Because
thank you.
No, thank you. And thank you for giving us those 10 tips. Those are really right. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But the processes that we put in place, leadership over management. That's the key. People really think that management, dotting every I, crossing every T, is going to be your success factor, but it's not. Leadership will be your success factor. How you treat your people, how you inspire them, how you coach them, how you train them, and how you bring them up in your store. Then having a comprehensive process that's simple, but is supported by tools. And what do I mean by tools? I mean, having a digital twin. A digital twin is a dashboard to your organization And that's what I created when I was with Eric. Eric, it was so funny. I said, Eric, we need a dashboard. Caliber has one of the most robust dashboards you could ever want. And Dave Goldstein would sit with me shoulder to shoulder, and he would teach me how to operate the dashboard, right? He's amazing,
Nice.
super smart, right? So I went to Eric. It was funny. I said, hey, Eric, we need a dashboard, a digital twin. I can't run a company like this. I need to be able to see everything real time all the time. He laughs at me. He goes, so what are you, a software guy now? I'm like, no. He goes, can you build a spec and present it to me? Because I don't know if you know this about Eric, but Eric's a software guru. But he used to own a software company. They sold it to enterprise. So he's good at that.
Wow.
So he goes, create a spec, Jim, and then present it to me. I'm like, what do I do? So I just went online, did a bunch of research, and I created an Excel spec, presented it to him. I mean, it's literally just him and I in this big old conference room, and Eric's a big guy, can be a little intimidating at times. He's sitting there watching this, and he finishes up and he goes, that was excellent. I'll fund it. So he paid for
Awesome.
it. Yeah, but then we ended up giving it to Fix USA, and then they got it out to all the owners, which was a great tool that brought us together as a network.
Yes.
So anyways, I encourage everybody, in process, have tools that support it, right? So Ron Kewen is a collision repair expert, industry expert, nationwide consultant, good friend. He had been working on a tool as well, and he has launched it, and it's a dashboard. And he also has a cycle time composite that surrounds my process based on category of repair, right? Okay. That's how we do it. So I would encourage all independent owners, newbies getting into the industry, to really look at your process. Keep it simple. I'm a big Steve Jobs fan. I loved him. He was one of my favorite people. And he would always say, keep it simple, stupid, as a matter of fact. And that's why he created the iPhone and the iPod and all that. So we work in a category of repair. A category 1 repair is a $2,500 repair or less. A category 2 repair is $2,500 less than $55. A category 3 repair is a $5,500 repair or greater.
Okay.
Right. So we literally wrap everything around that. We have time standards to a Cat 1, a time standard to a Cat 2, and a time standard to a Cat 3. We grade it from drop into production of the Cat 1, from drop, tag, map, scan, into production, disassembly, estimatics, parts procurement, into paint. All has to be done within the first hour of arrival.
Wow.
Yes. This is the first half. The production half, that can take upwards of 2 to 3 hours to get into paint. But remember, these are $2,500 repairs or less.
Right.
And the reason why they became $2,500 repairs is for ADAS and technology, right? Ron and I used to keep it at $1,500 or less. But we had to change it because as we saw this evolvement of sublet operations or even in-house, right, we had to change that. So
yeah.
But the discipline factor around it, that's one of the things that people fail. They don't understand that being conditioned each day, having your mind right for it, being open, and surrounding yourself with like-minded humans that want to be great. What I find in my career, in being in over 450 body shops in my lifetime, turning hundreds of them from poor operators to top quartile operators, people. It's all people, right? They have to work within that process. You can have the best process in the world. You can. But if you don't have people that adapt it, understand it, and stay within it, what good is it? It's no good.
Yeah.
Right? That was one of my secret sauces, is that. So the time standards around the category 1, the time standards around the category 2, and the category 3. I have a philosophy. A repair of $10,000 to $15,000 or higher, it's going to be there for 15 to 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we putting every bit of focus on that? Why is that the first car torn down? Why is that the first estimate written? It does not make sense. I would go into body shops and I'd sit in the lobby and I'd observe and watch. They get 5 bumper jobs. They get 5 fender replacements, let's say. They got 4 toe-ins. They all jump to those toe-ins. Category 1 sit for 2 to 3 days. The bumpers, 2 to 3 days. I once had a guy say, I've had a bumper job in my shop, Jim, for 19 days. I said, are you proud of that?
Yeah.
I'd be proud of that.
No.
Right?
God.
Crazy. So that's what I've observed through my career. So and I'm going to give this to Mr. Eric Bickett. He connected me with Ron Kewen. He wanted me to have a life coach. I used to be really rough around the collar. I was an operator. I didn't have a lot of kindness in me. It's going to get done. You do it, or we're moving on.
Right.
You got me, Ron. Ron taught me how to be more open-minded to the coaching, the training, bringing them up versus just replace, replace, replace.
Right.
That's another thing I could segue a bunny trail to is train, teach, and be ahead of your people. Identify where they're weak and give them that strength, right?
I love that.
That's what they taught, what Ron taught me. So I went from having high turnover to very, very, very low turnover. Eric and Shelby loved it because they did not like turnover. Being business owners at their level,
yeah,
they take great pride in their people. They really did. Right. So when I come around and I'm like, oh, we're just going to upgrade. We're going to do this or we're going to do that. They're like,
yeah,
cool your pitch, Jim. I'm like, what do you mean? This is what I've been taught. Corporate America. What do you mean?
Right.
And they give me Ron. And I was like, Jim, corporate America Ron is from corporate America. He was a big operator for Abra for years. He was a VP, I think, of operations at one point. I think, could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. So, those are the things they taught me. And I really listened because I didn't like what I was experiencing. So I'm going to be honest to the whole industry right now. I had a 24-month sustainability. That was it. That's it, because I was so hard on everybody.
Yeah.
And I learned that leadership was the key. Coaching, inspiration, training, and really being interested. And I am now. And at first, it was more about me than it was them. About my people. It was more about the teams because they bring you where you want to go.
Right.
So at the end of the day, that's what Ron taught me. So at each step of the way, a car, if it's going to be there 30 days, it's going to be there 30 days. So we prioritize the Cat 1 to the Cat 2 to the Cat 3. Right. And then you have to whip manage at a very high level. And that's one of the things that a lot of people fail in. Right. There's a gentleman out there by the name of Richard Fish. Richard Fish owns, I think, 10 stores now in the California market. Good friend, smart man. He taught me whip management. He goes, Jim, if you want high level KPI, manage your whip. He goes, why do you take in every single car? You don't need to. Right.
Right.
That was a big deal. So we keep an optimum whip. So if we have 400 grand is our sales plan, we only keep $100,000 on the property. We turn it. When we turn it, we turn it, right? Works perfect. So if I want 400 grand, I keep 100,000 in stock and I turn it almost every 5 to 6 days.
So are you scheduling your vehicles in?
I don't, not yet. I will in the future. Right now, I have to hoard a little bit as I grow the business, but I'm going to buy another store right down the street here soon. I'm going to buy another one next to that, and then I'll be load leveling. So I'll never turn a car load.
Yeah.
That's what I brought to with Caliber. I really enhanced it there. They had a low level process in place, but they really didn't get the benefit of it. So I worked with the teams there. We really enhanced it. At ACAB, at Auto Center Auto Body, we lived it. We would take sales and literally blew that company up because we turned no work away. Ever. We didn't schedule. What's the need when we can load level? Right. So like, for example, you have Irvine Fixed Auto, Costa Mesa, Anaheim, Orange, Yorba Linda, all around it. High volume store. It does 450 grand every month like clockwork. But that's really all it can do.
Right.
But it would fill Costa Mesa, fill Orange, because that volume is coming constantly.
Yes.
If you're an MSO, a multiple shop operator, you really have to think about that. I don't want any cars going anywhere else. One of the things that Caliber taught me, which was amazing, and they were adamant about it. Jim, why does the customer want to schedule? And I go, well, loyalty. Well, are they a repeat customer or are they the first customer? Good question. A person that doesn't have any loyalty to you wants their car fixed now. We've got 30 Calibers, so just bring them over here. They can go over there. They can go to Joe's Auto Body. They can go anywhere. So bring the car in, low level it. So it really sustains sales across the platform.
Yeah.
Right? So here, what I intend to do is I'm going to bring it all in. I'll produce it through the process. Right? If it gets to that point where I have to schedule, I will, but I prefer not to. I just feel that that's a lost opportunity for us. And what I always experience too is we'll pre-order a part. They don't come in, our cash is starting to deplete, just things like that, right? So scheduling works for some. I think when you're in rural areas, when you're in places like that, it's really important. But I think when you're in a metropolis, I don't know how important that is.
Do you mind me asking, so how much are you doing in sales as of right now?
We did our first over $200,000 month just in March. We did 220 in March. This month we'll do 320. And then from that point, it'll just be perpetual. The store will land it at 400. I won't do more than 400 here.
Okay. And then how many writers do you have now?
I just brought on my second just a month ago, knowing where we were going with our DRP ads. So the store will now sustain it'll do a 350 after April consistently. And from that point, it's just about how we process it.
Yeah. So then ideally, when you're at that 400,000 mark, ideally, how many riders would you have at that point?
2.
You keep it at 2. Okay.
Well, I have a process that works really well. I separated everything. Now, this process is a deep one, Nikki. So I can go for hours, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Right? But there's a breakout here. So I have what we call a customer service specialist. So a customer service specialist isn't just answering a phone and greeting a customer. They're checking the car in. They do the first set of photographs. They tag it, they map it, they scan it. They bring it to production. They bring it to the tech stall. Tech tears the vehicle down. Writer goes out to write the sheet. My writers are not doing all the door junk. They're not doing
Gotcha.
That's what keeps us super efficient. So
I like that.
So we teach these either gals or guys, either way, but we're teaching them to become writers. That's what happens with them, or they move into other roles. It's really cool how it works. So what I do is like Rob Collins is partnered up with Lindsay, right? So Rob and Lindsay work together as a team. Have Andrew and Natalie. Andrew and Natalie work together as a team. So it's the repair planner, CCS. CCS is the face for them.
Yes.
Right. The CCS will bring them up if there's a technical question they can't answer, if things get a little tense, that can happen sometimes.
Yes.
Right. Things like that. Customer demands an estimate now, and of course we'll go write the estimate. But what they'll do on that walk in traffic, they go out, they take photographs, they get VIN numbers, all vehicle information, any specific concerns, we'll email you that estimate, and we'll book you in the next day or whatever you want to do. Works out really well. Yeah, because that door traffic and to stop and write an estimate for every customer every time, that could be tough, right?
Yes.
So that works, and customers appreciate it. They're in and they're out. They don't have to waste their time waiting for 25, 30 minutes to get that sheet. They're like, oh, that's great. Yeah, email it to me, and then we'll call you and we can discuss it then. So that works.
So are you finding then, because I find it interesting that you're letting the customer leave then and getting the estimate later. Are those typically then DRP customers? Is that why you're comfortable letting them leave?
They are.
Because otherwise I'd be like, don't let them go.
If it's a customer pay, now I have a gentleman by the name of Andrew Moore with me. Andrew Moore is he's about 50 years old. This guy is phenomenal. He can capture any customer pay on the spot. I got so lucky when I met him. He joined me as soon as I opened the doors here. And I think that's how he did it. But yeah, he's phenomenal at it. So there's two scenarios. So the DRP is pretty much it's captured, right? So those are the ones we'll get all that information, then we'll have them drop it the next morning if everybody's too busy, right? If the car wants to drop, we want them to drop on the spot if it's the DRP. So they will most of the time. Yeah. About 98% of the time they just leave it.
Right, because they don't need the estimate. They're just paying their deductible. What do they care? Have it. Interesting that you're talking about how you kind of have the partners working together, because in some of the shops that I work with, they do have like their CSRs doing a lot of that, doing the front work, if you want to call it, and being the forward facing person, because those people are typically a little friendlier, a little warmer versus the estimator who's more calculated and analytical.
Yes.
And it does allow for the process to move so much faster. Because if you were going to tell me when you first started, basically getting all the information and out to production within an hour, that's why I asked you about, are you making appointments? Because the only other shop that I've worked with that has been able to execute something like that, where their estimator has done all of that, is if they're scheduled by appointment and they literally drop it off and that writer's blocked out with nothing else for that hour. But that takes a lot of time away from that writer. So like you said, if you can have somebody else managing that, kicking it out, the estimator can follow up and finish that. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now understanding the categorization of repair, Cat 1 is 1 hour. Category 2, you have about 3 hours. Category 3 is you have a full day to a day and a half. Right. So it works out really cool. I'm going to kind of flash this up and see. This little report right here literally will show you how quickly you're getting it into production. It's called arrival to production ready. And you can see here in this document, right? Which one is this? This was January. This is month 1. We're averaging 1.2 days on category 1, which was really bad, right? Now in March, we're averaging the same day as arrival, which is a beautiful thing. and you can see that right now, right? So it's pretty cool, right? But it's just evolvement when you start a new team. That's one of the things I try to encourage, and I do encourage everybody, build your team first. Because if you're trying to get all this training and disciplines implemented, and you know you're going to be moving people or changing people and don't have the right people, it doesn't get your team built. And that's what I always do. I always formulate this team, and I do it fast. Build that network, get it done, then implement your training now, and stay on top of it. That's one of the things I see too, is these owners, or these managers, they implement, they're not holding people accountable. And accountability is key. You will not have a successful body shop without it. Now, you just won't. It's interesting. Know your data. I see that a lot of people don't know their data. I am a data junkie. I know every single KPI, every margin, every number in this building every day. I know it with 10 stores. I know it with 14 stores. It did not matter. If Dave Holstein called me, he could ask me if any store I was responsible for, I could answer every single question he would have for me. And that was part of my success factor. It was key to know all that.
Yeah.
You have to, right? 5S is key. If you don't have a clean, well-organized body shop, you got people running around. It's like losing the queen ant, right? Or the leader of the ants. I don't remember the name of it, right? But that ant leaves and the ants go crazy, right? Yeah. But if that ant's there holding people accountable, everything stays in place.
And Jim, you had mentioned when we were talking a little bit ago about a whiteboard and doing some type. So can you talk a little bit about that for a quick sec?
You bet. I'd love to talk about this. I created this process. I call it a whiteboard production meeting each day. So each day we have inspiration first, right? So we talk about this. We talk about this industry. Why factor. Please don't ask anybody to do something unless you give them a why factor.
Yeah.
Because that frustrates people, right? And so we give them why factor. Why is there so much pressure for cycle time? Why is there so much pressure for the CSI? Why is there so much pressure for repair over replace? Why, right? So we talk about that daily. We talk about issues in the shop every single morning. We do the production piece on the cars last. Sometimes we'll do inspirational video. We'll do a training video. We'll do something every day like clockwork. We bring people up. We don't focus on the negative. We'll have a negative come up. We'll talk about it, but then we put it in trash can immediately. Because guess what? You're going to have stuff happen. When you go into some of these underperforming shops, the reason why is because people are beaten. They're dejected. They don't feel good about what they're doing, right? I make people feel good about what they're doing every day. They are repairing the car, the Chariot. Nobody gets anywhere without that. And we have to do it safe. We have to do it right. I think these guys that fix these cars deserve more notoriety than an athlete, a movie star, any of it. They are the stars. Yeah. From my perspective. So that's what I coach and train and teach these folks. I have taken you've probably been in, when you own your shop, you deal with these people. They sit at the table and they're all, good morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You should take them out of that and make them understand what they do is something they should take great, great pride in. So that is part of our morning meeting. It's crazy how it just impacts them. Then we go, like today, we went over, some stuff we're going to be doing with Verifax. They're coming. We're launching here pretty quick. I'm going to have Bill himself out here. It's going to be a big deal. Yesterday, I'm walking the shop and I take a photograph. They forgot to cap off an AC. So first thing this morning, we have car care again, crash wrap, covering holes, protecting, all that. That was the first thing. Then I have a photograph up on the TV of the AC system uncapped. Then we do fun fact questions and fact question. Okay, team, how long does it take to contaminate an AC system once it's uncapped and broken open? Does anybody know? Some people are like 1 minute. Some people are like 10 minutes. I'm like, you have a 3-hour window. That is it. So we go back to the whole training process. So daily training based topic comes up from what we may have failed on the day before. Okay. We had 0 failures day before. Okay, great. But what are we going to go in today? What are we going to look at? We're going to look at sales mix today. We're looking at high quality. We're going to have a fuser demo. What are we going to do, right? So we do a morning production meeting, 7:45 to 8:15. We do the first part, 15 minutes is all the inspirational training stuff. Sometimes it goes longer. Then we review each and every car in detail. I don't do walkthroughs. Walkthroughs are a waste of time. You have technology today, CCC1, all of your notes, everything is there for you. So the way we manage that production report as well, that's key. Those notes has every single sublet operation. It says if it's a Cat 1 repair, Cat 2, or a Cat 3. If you're in a rental car, if you're not in a rental car, right? All of that. That's all at 10 in the morning. I'm sorry, at 7:45 in the morning. Then we go and we build what we call a daily go list. This is a very great document that I created that mirrors our dashboard for sales, hours per day, cycle days, where you're at with sales, everything. Every single car that's going for the day is put on this list. It's distributed to the entire team. That's all we focus on for that day. Any tow-ins you have, estimatics drop, production go list. That's how we get the throughput. It really works well. So that is created right after the meeting. That has to be sent out to the entire team by 9 a.m. Then at 10 a.m. sharp, we do another 10-minute release meeting. We just review the go list for the day only.
Okay.
Then we start to go call customers. Cars we know that are going to be 100% complete. By the end of the day, we're getting you in to pick up the car. If we have one that's iffy, we will call you. We'll let you know, hey, your car is tentatively scheduled to leave today. We're 4 days early. Tell them that.
Right.
You have to keep it for the day because sometimes we have to, right? So that's what happens there. Then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we have another 10-minute release meeting. And we confirm everything that's going for the day, everything that might drop off. Then we make another set of phone calls. Boom. End our day with a full cleanup. One more pass with our general manager. He looks at everything, updates production reports, gets everything ready for the next morning. That's a small version of it in a nutshell.
So now who is creating your meeting notes and the inspiration? And why did I have a funny feeling that was going to be the answer?
I had 10 well-trained general managers with Eric and Shelley. They did all their morning. I have documentation on how to do your whiteboard meetings and the type of stuff you want up on them and how you frame out your boards and how you do everything. I have some pretty cool quotes. I have one that's the fast eat the slow. Ron Kuhn and I believe in that. If you look at any company in the world, the reason why they are not in business today is because they were slow in everything they did. Innovation, all of it, right? So if you look through history, you'll find them all. You'll see them all. We talked about that today, as a matter of fact. I have a big in red, pay attention with a big arrow pointing to it. And we talk about paying attention daily and how important that is. Right? It's key. It's one of the things we do. So yeah, I create all that stuff.
And do you do that typically the morning before the meeting or the night before?
I normally do it on my way to work.
Okay.
And I think about what I want to do, and then I go and I put it down. But during the day, I'll take a lot of different notes, things I see, observe. If they're impactful or important, we'll talk about them. Right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's like today, if I find throughput failure issues, category issues, any of that nature, I document them. And we share them in an open forum. We don't do it to humiliate people.
Right.
We do it to eliminate the mistake. And the thing is the more open it is and the more transparent it is, people don't like that. So they rise to the occasion. So every time we make that little mistake, not tomorrow we won't, and they don't. So we start to see them go away. I once took over a shop that was making an average of 21 mistakes per day. It was brutal. I went into this place and I'm like, what has been going on here?
Yeah.
You know? So I brought all these, I would put the big white stickies up on the wall and we'd write them all down. And then all of a sudden, as we call people out, like, hey, Mickey, why'd you do that? What were you thinking when you did that? Well, why didn't you raise your hand for some help? We don't get that.
Right.
For help,
Right.
So we start doing that. And next thing you know, it just goes from 20 mistakes to 10 mistakes to 5 to 0.
Well, and potentially helps you to identify some reoccurring issues. If those little white stickies keep going up on the board, okay.
Yeah. Well, we also use, our CSI reporting for that too. That's one of the biggest training tools we use. So we would use that too. Any hot sheet, print them out, share them. We don't keep that to ourselves. Every bit of data, every bit of information from financial to KPI to DRP to anything that we do is transparent within our businesses. That's one of the most important things. I find that ownership that keeps it quiet, they're not going very far.
We can learn, as you totally understand, we learn from the mistakes that are happening. So the shops that I have that have meetings like that are like, okay, here are the hot sheets. This is the stuff that came up. Let's talk about this. Let's deal with it. Because oftentimes there is some type of hiccup in the process, but until you bring it to light, then it just keeps happening. Everybody keeps stuffing it under the rug.
Exactly.
Or if there's an issue that maybe somebody else was like, oh, I had that issue last month or whatever. Now we can begin to learn from each other. And like you said, with transparency, that brings it all to light. And so you can be better. So I love the concept, but like you said, also it needs to be done in a way that's not I'm coming down on you and what an idiot.
Yes. It's a big deal. It really is. Everybody always asks me, how do you get people so motivated? I would start with what they do well. You kill it in this area, this area, and this area, man. You are, wow. I've never seen anything like it. This area right here, though, can we take this and put it into that category? Can we do that? What do you need for us to get you there?
Yeah.
Well, I need this, or I need this, or it's your fault, Jim. Okay. And so what are we going to do to fix that?
Right.
We do it. And next thing you know, here they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of
That's
fun.
awesome. And I do love the concept of training your people that you have, because working with employees also, they really want to learn. They want to get invested in, because that makes them feel appreciated. So when you are, breathing into them and training them and helping them, now they're buying in. Now you have the buy-in also, versus, it's not working out.
It took me a while to really learn that. That was one of my biggest roadblocks in my career, for real. Mm-hmm. And if I would have learned that, because when did I learn 10 years ago? If I would have learned that 25 years ago, who knows where I'd be today, But hey, things come when they're supposed to come, and you learn you're supposed to learn. And I believe that's all set in your path. So.
Yeah. So now when you're doing these numbers, and we'll kind of wrap it up, because I feel like we're giving these guys a lot to think about. And part of the tricky part is we have owners that aren't as hands-on as you are. So that's tricky.
Yes.
So,
and I'm not saying you have to be in your business every day. You don't, but you have to make a presence, and you have to have accountability to your leadership, your management, and you need to build relationships with your body techs, your painters, and your writers, especially those body techs. That is your ultimate commodity. Mm-hmm. Ultimate. I find that my relationships to the technicians, that's where it's at. I mean, if I was still in California, they would all be at my new shop, because of the loyalty, because of how I treated them, because of that relationship.
Right. Well, you're setting them up for success, and everybody appreciates that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So kind of then looping back to what I was going to ask you is, for the guys that are interested in doing something like this, what do you recommend? Like, how can they kind of get started? Because there are so many ideas and it all sounds amazing and great. And it's like, okay, but how do I do this in my shop? How do I make this applicable for me? What would be like something simple that they could just start with today to kind of get that ball rolling?
Reach out to other owners. We're all willing to help. Reach out to consultants like Ron or Mike Anderson, the guys that really know what they're doing. And if you want to be an absent owner, I would recommend finding a highly qualified operations leader.
Yeah.
Is doing. You're not going to find a lot. They're all very happy where they're at. That's one of the hardest things, right? They don't want to go. Why would they leave? And there's not a whole lot of them out there. Just not. So, I would recommend that. But as an owner, be involved, be engaged, teach your people, get them to the right people. There's a lot out there. We got so many good teachers and educators in this industry today. It's remarkable, quite frankly. It really is. I recommend Ron Kewen because he's an operations guy like me, process driven. Numbers driven, like operation numbers, like sales mixes, GPs, sales planning, how to achieve your sales planning, lift management. Ron's phenomenal. Ron and I did 2.5, almost 3 years together of 20 groups with over 40 body shops in them on a monthly basis. They were great. And Ron and I knew how to bounce off each other with our tool. It was so much fun. So I recommend that at a high level. Network. And I'm going to be straight here. Eric taught me that. Eric says, Jim, get out there, 20 groups, whatever it takes. Because that's how I did it, Jim. That's how I got successful before I brought you in, because I wanted to use my tools that got me here.
Right.
So that's what I recommend to every owner is get connected, get out there with the people that know it. Ron's a great guy. He's willing to help. You guys can email me. I'll send you his information, whatever you need. I'll help. I love the industry. I eat, breathe, and sleep it,
Yeah. Well, I love it. And I thank you for reaching out and offering to come on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for shop owners and managers to be listening, because I think it's going to spark some ideas and things that they can possibly do. I mean, I think a lot of shops used to do the morning meetings. I feel like when I owned my shop, that was like a thing that a lot of shops did. But for some reason, we've moved away from it. I think we get so caught up in the day-to-day and the cycle time and the demands that it's like, oh, we don't have time for the meeting. But it's almost like the meeting is the foundation.
It is the foundation.
without it, we're, like you said, kind of like, the queen ant. I feel like there's just so much that we really need to be grounded, and having a morning meeting to start out your day, although you may feel like I just want to get into the work. I just want to get started without having that foundation. I mean, if these guys on the call and gals, do nothing else but start out with some type of cohesive meeting of getting on the same page, positive messaging. We're in this together. I mean, something as basic as that, I think would be amazing.
Yes. Well, communicate. That's the tip. Right? I wrote a chapter in Caliber's operational handbook, was called Communicate. They used to ask me, why are you so successful doing what you do? Communication, simply put. The more we know, the more we communicate throughout the day, the less problems we're going to have and the more advanced processing we're going to have. And that's just the way it works. It's the truth.
Yeah.
I have radios on open dial. We're all talking all through the day. Every little thing that comes up, we're all aware. We're all in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it. Well, Jim, thank you again. Jim, I'm going to put your information for those of you guys watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast. All the information for Jim will be down in the description. You can reach out to him if you have questions. If you need his information and you don't see it in the description, feel free to reach out to me and I'll pass along his information. Jim, you've been amazing in our industry. You have helped bring our industry where it is today. And it's funny because you've done so much work behind the scenes. So I was saying a lot of people don't realize they've been affected by you or they know you, but they do. Being so involved with Fix, being involved with Caliber, creating these processes and procedures, and now being able to do it for yourself, which is so cool. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. I tell you, everybody's been so kind to me in this industry. I've been very fortunate, very lucky man.
Yes. Oh, I love this industry. That's obviously where my heart is. That's why I'm doing this thing.
You're awesome. When I watched your first episode, I was like, this is great. That's why I sent you that text.
Oh,
cool. We love it. We need this. We really
yes,
do.
I think so.
You.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So all the information is in the description for today's Body Banging podcast. So appreciate you all listening and watching. And I'm sure we're going to have another great one next Monday. So make sure you stay tuned for that one too. Make sure you're following. And when you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you hit that notifications bell so you get a little pop-up on your phone every time one goes live so you don't miss any of these. So thanks again. And we will see you all next time.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.